Type of thing where it's like the male G-spot is in the prostate.
Guys orgasm more than girls do.
But it was a gap between orgasms.
It's a disproportion of orgasms of men versus women.
Is it like the amount of time between having orgasms?
Is that like how it's harder for a woman to orgasm than a man?
Like the societal norm between female orgasms and male orgasms.
I think I actually have heard that term before.
So there's like the wage gap between men and women. The orgasm gap is that how men typically get to orgasm more than women in sex. It has to do something with biology. Maybe it's not blamed on biology. Maybe even biology would push it in the other direction.
I do think it's biological.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of dudes like just care if they bust.
Men and women are anatomically different.
No, I think it's socially constructed and has been enforced for many years, and because of that, it's kind of built into relationships these days.
I think it's societal expectations, honestly.
I think girls are definitely biologically harder to make orgasm.
Biologically proven that women, like, it's harder for them to get an orgasm than it is for a man. Like, if he's already done, he's not gonna sit there and try to get you to finish.
Like, sex often is more focused around the man.
Maybe the history of like women in the past being like whores, quote unquote.
That it's easier for a man to orgasm than it is for a woman.
Just like women get stressed out or like feel like they have to get there, so they just like lie.
Pitch in a couple extra cents for the ribbed condoms.
That's a very tough one.
I think with having sex, you can have a kid without the woman needing to orgasm.
Or like objectivism. More education on how that goes down.
Women are the goal. We pay attention to women during sex.
Yeah.
Like women view of women in society.
Actually, better sex education in schools would help close the orgasm gap by teaching that sex is for pleasure also, not just for reproduction.
Just let the woman finish first.
Communication is sexy.
So if men focused more on pleasing a woman.
You know, just like how when the man tells you what he likes, the woman has to tell the man what she likes.
Better education on how to give a woman an orgasm.
Lack of education on the subject has contributed greatly to the orgasm gap. Many people are entirely unaware of the existence of the orgasm gap. So we as a society are faced with the challenging prospect that a gap cannot be closed or even addressed if most people are not aware that it's even there. The orgasm gap is the statistical gap between how often women orgasm compared to men. Statistics show that 39% of women, compared to 91% of men, say that they usually or always experience orgasm in partnered sex. That's a 52% orgasm gap. The gap is larger in statistics involving hookup sex. 55% of men versus 4% of women said they usually reach orgasm during first-time hookup sex. For relationship sex, there is still a 17% gap. So what's the reason for this gap? We just want to get out of the way that the orgasm gap is generally not believed to be biological. It is not more difficult biologically for women to orgasm. Orgasm rates dramatically increase among lesbian women in comparison to straight women, but in men, orgasm rate does not vary with sexual orientation. Three main reasons for the orgasm gap that we will explore today: history, or lack thereof, of female anatomy, common beliefs surrounding sex, and the sexual objectification of women. The clit was erased and then rediscovered frequently from anatomy books throughout history. One of the most well-known rediscoveries happened during the late 16th century. Doctors began acknowledging the clitoris as a normal part of female anatomy rather than a pathologized part associated with hermaphrodites or lesbians. Gray's Anatomy included the clitoris by the year 1901. This was a huge step forward for female anatomy, but it was quickly followed by a giant step backwards when it was subsequently removed in the 1948 edition. The disappearance of the clit was largely due to concerns about social hygiene and morality. Alicia Bonaparte said, "There's a fear of the clitoris because it's truly a pleasure center." People still fear the clit today, and it is still absent. Most women call everything down there the vagina. Other women can't even utter the word. It is rare that the vulva, the labia, or the clitoris are ever named. Why is everything down there referred to as the vagina when the vagina is not actually on the outside? It is a muscular canal that connects the vulva to the cervix. Could the reason be that because that is where the action often occurs in intercourse? In other words, where the penis is inserted? The number one reason for the gap, as cited by Mintz in her book Becoming Clitorate, is the belief that women should orgasm from intercourse alone. In reality, not very many women can reach orgasm through just penetration. Mintz also explained how the actual vaginal canal has very few nerve endings that are touch sensitive. The truth is that the majority of nerve endings that women need stimulated in order to orgasm are on the outside. Penetration is not required to make a woman orgasm. Clitoral stimulation is the number one way to a female orgasm. Let me say it one more time. Clitoral stimulation is the number one way for a woman to orgasm. Okay, now everybody say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Clitoral stimulation is the number one way to the female orgasm. And there are statistics to prove it. 95% of women need clitoral stimulation to reach orgasm. That means only 5% of women can reach orgasm through only penetration. During intercourse, 78% of women's difficulties reaching orgasm are caused by a lack of incorrect clitoral stimulation. As a culture, we have grown to believe that sex is primarily about male pleasure, given that sex begins with penetration and ends with male ejaculation. Sexual objectification is when women see themselves as objects, and in the context of the orgasm gap, it's basically when women see themselves as sex dolls who are not meant to receive pleasure of their own. Under this belief, sexual pleasure is meant for men only. Women are expected to perform during sex rather than experience sexuality. Because of this implication to perform, women worry about looking hot constantly during sex. They worry about certain positions not being flattering, they worry about looking fat or their flaws being exposed, and they worry about if they're doing their job to please well enough. Women should not have to worry about things like this. We should not feel reduced to our bodies. This type of unwelcoming environment does not make for a good orgasming environment during sex. Because of sexual objectification, women often disconnect from their bodies during sex and perform rather than enjoy themselves. A woman will not orgasm during sex if she's disconnected from her body and mind. Women view themselves as objects to have sex with rather than viewing themselves as a participant during sex. They feel that they need to meet societal expectations and put on a performance. A woman should be able to say openly and freely what she wants during sex. We can close the orgasm gap by changing our understanding of what counts as sex. Women need to be accounted for in sex with a new definition. Currently, most people would define sex as intercourse, but this definition doesn't account for the way that most women best receive pleasure. Only 4 to 5% of women can orgasm from intercourse alone. The current definition cherry picks the best way for a man to orgasm and calls that sex. This redefining of sex is in favor of males too. If going down on a woman is considered sex as well, then the pressure surrounding penis size can be put to rest. Sex would no longer be entirely penis dependent, and we would be able to let go of the usual anxieties about size, stigma, and performance. Oral sex is often viewed as a prerequisite for sex. A common term is the appetizer before the meal. This is wrong. What many fail to realize is that oral sex is often the main course, and it increases a woman's chance of reaching orgasm. A huge part of closing the gap consists of not devaluing the ways in which women most often orgasm. Society defines everything that is not intercourse as foreplay. Foreplay is not seen as an important part because there is no penetration, even though it is a huge source of sexual pleasure for women. It is seen by men as a hoop they have to jump through in order to earn intercourse. We also need better sex education in public schools. Girls should be taught more about their genitals rather than just learning about their period. Very few schools teach girls about their genitals. Some girls do not even know that the clit exists until later on in their life. Good communication between partners about knowing what the other wants will also increase the chance of orgasm and close the gap. Knowing how to and feeling comfortable enough to verbally express what you want will make communicating that to your partner so much easier, and you'll actually be able to enjoy yourself. You must learn what you like and what you do not like. It is up to both men and women to work together in order to close this gap. Don't you want your partner to have the best sexual experience you can give? Don't you want to enjoy yourself? We can do this!
Women are pretty epic.
The patriarchy. Fuck the patriarchy.